Heyo, Hipper here, and welcome to another video where I will shower praise upon the tier 6 Japanese heavy cruiser, the Maya. And this ship is great. It's available in the shop now. I've done a few videos on it in the last 2 weeks where it wasn't actually available to buy, but it's in there now, and it's relatively inexpensive because it is a tier 6, right? But with this ship here, you're pretty much getting a baby Atago that you can play at tier 6. And that will allow you to go up against tier 5 ships, if you're lucky, that is. Of course, you can be unlucky and go against tier 7 ships, but it doesn't really matter that much in Maya, because you'll be able to pretty much hold your own. It's not that much of a problem. So in other words, this is a really, really good tier 6 cruiser, and everyone should purchase this ship, I think. And especially if you're into like the more agile playstyle, if you like to put Mikawa on your Atago, for example, then Maya is an absolute must-have, because what this ship does is that it brings the agile, like a little bit more, interesting playstyle from tier 7 down to tier 6. And as you can tell, you get to keep the wonderful torpedo layout of Atago. And with that layout, you can be a lot more aggressive, which I'll show later in the battle. Now, Maya is super agile for a tier 6 cruiser, and it's actually agile for a tier 7 cruiser even. It goes more than 40 knots, it's got less than 2.5 second rudder, and it's fairly, tough. It's not like a Mogami or anything like that. It actually can take a little bit of punishment. Not that much as a Targo, but if you play at tier 6, you shouldn't really be having to take that much damage, right? So in the end, it goes up pretty much like very similar to Atago. And that's a good thing, because Atago is a really nicely well-rounded ship. It of course doesn't have radar, which is its big downside, but it's got a lot of other stuff than that. Like it's got lots of guns and lots of torpedoes, and it's really, really agile. And the same thing goes for Maya. You are missing out on one turret at the front, but it doesn't really matter that much. What does matter is the slow reload. For a tier 6 cruiser, you have 16-second reload. It's fairly long, and probably not to everyone's liking. I mean, Atago has a reload of, I believe, 14 seconds, something like that. And also an extra turret, so you're gonna get more damage with the guns on Atago, but you do keep the very nice torpedoes on Maya, 8-kilometer range, and you get a whopping 16 of them. So make sure you make them count, because you're not gonna be able to do that much damage just with your guns. If you want to get those high, juicy numbers, you need to bring those torpedoes to bear. And with 8-kilometer range, it's a little bit more tricky than Atago, but it's still absolutely doable. Now, the Japanese cruisers probably don't have the same degree of utility as pretty much any cruiser, like the British or the Americans, which have radar and smoke and sonar and stuff like that. I mean, with Maya, you do get sonar, which is awesome. I was very worried that this ship was going to give up sonar for its frankly, pretty useless main battery reload boost. But that didn't happen. And actually, this ship here can equip both at the same time, which is fantastic. It's excellent. So it gives you no less than 3 reload boosts. And that's worth a lot. I mean, 1 is good, 2 is okay, but 3 is where it starts to actually make a difference. And at the same time, you get to keep your sonar, and you get those 16 torpedoes. So, and of course, don't forget those 3 heals as well at tier 6, right? So this is a very, very powerful ship with a lot of utility and a lot of agility, and just, in all, a lot of fun. And, that's what you want from this game. You want to have fun, and that's the threshold I use to, decide if I want to buy a premium ship. I don't care if it's powerful, it has to be fun, right? So that's the main criteria, and there aren't that many of them, to be honest. Premium ships that are fun, I don't know, probably Hayaga comes to mind, although it's actually more overpowered than fun, because it is just a battleship, right? But anyway, if we look at cruisers and cruisers below tier 7, then I'd say Maya is an absolute must-have. And you'll see here just how it brings the agility of a Targo down to tier 7, and it allows you to pull so many fun stunts down here that players at the middle tiers aren't used to. So it's very, very interesting, and it's a lot of fun. So that on itself is just worth the money you'll have to pay for the ship here, because there's just nothing like it at tier 6. And like I said, you will, could be lucky, more than lucky, I guess, to go up against the tier 5s like I am in this case here. And then you're just going to have an absolute field day. And like I said in the beginning, even if you end up going up against tier 7s, it's not the end of the world. Maya can hold its own, and no one's going to push this ship either, because just like a Targo, you have fearsome torpedo armament that no one in their right mind is going to try to fool around with if they can, choose not to. So like I said, the ship is available and it's fairly cheap. I'm not going to say anything in World of Warships Legends is decidedly cheap, but from a value perspective, what you're actually getting for that money, for those doubloons you might choose to spend on this ship, I'd say this is one of the absolute highest offerings out there. And I won't say the ship is overpowered. I actually will say that it's not. I think it's very nicely balanced. It's agile enough and it's offensive enough so you can have a fun playtime in it, but it's also not going into some of the areas of the American cruisers where it's just like plain out unfair, really. I mean, 16-second reload, it's hard to argue that that's overpowered in any way. That's about the same as Yoshino at legendary tier, right? This is tier 6. So this is no Worcester, and this is no like American cruiser that just like magically can do anything and cannot fail. So this requires like skill and high level commanders, and really this is how I think all cruisers should be. I just really despise cruisers like Des Moines, for example, that in my opinion requires nothing. If you've seen my videos on that ship, all you have to do is just pick a spot where no one can get at your broadside, and then you just sit there and spam HE or AP, whatever you're shooting at. And in most cases, if you don't get sunk, you'll win, and you'll win by like a lot of XP because you're doing a lot of damage with very little like risk. You're not really taking any risks. You're just sitting there shooting, and well, first of all, it's extremely boring. And second of all, it's a little bit overpowered, and it's also really silly. But play a ship like Maya, and you're going to have to fight for that XP. You're going to have to actually do well, and you're going to have to actually have the commanders up to pretty high levels, at least if you play it as an agile build. And that's what I like. And I like to bring that playstyle down to tier 6 and be able to have fun at this tier here, because tier 6 used to be my absolute hate tier, and it still is unless I play Maya. Like if I don't play Maya, I hate tier 6. I think it's some of the most boring ships live at tier 6, and it's also, the gameplay is usually pretty bad. Tier 5 is much better, and tier 7 is much better. So here we're just baiting the Nicer now, and you can see how fast we can turn, so making him just absolutely waste that whole salvo there. So yeah, you can wait for your reload, and in the meantime we'll set up a torp attack on this guy here. So I'm not really getting that many kills in this battle here. I'd say I at least deserve one more than I have at the moment, but so be it. Sometimes it's just not gonna happen. So he is slowly flooding out here, and there's torpedoes, and like I said, you'll be able to turn very, very quickly in this ship here. So firing torpedoes that early, well, that's not really going to help anything. Now, I did have my sonar on as well, and like I said, I'm so happy this ship has sonar, because I use it a lot. Like, I really use sonar a lot. This is also one of the reasons that it really hurts me in my soul, like all the way in my soul, when you start one of those battles, and like 10 seconds into the battle, you can see on the side of the screen that 2 or 3 of your teammates have activated their sonars, or even worse, even their radars. And I mean, it just shows you that you should not expect a lot from those players in the battle. And like I said, it's just painful to watch. Like, sonar is so useful, and you should save it, and you should use it in those moments where it actually can make a difference. And sonar can make a huge difference, absolutely huge difference. It's one of the most important utilities you have, and it's one of the main reasons that I absolutely love to play cruisers, because I love to get the sonar into play, and that's also why I'm quite aggressive in my cruisers, because it's just so powerful. Keeping someone spotted for more than 2 minutes and spot torpedoes and obviously destroyers, like, it's very, very useful. And so many people just don't even use their sonar or don't even understand it, and that's just a pain. So anyway, we are teaming up with the, I believe that's a Scharnhorst right there, and there's a battleship hiding behind the island. He's gonna come around this corner in a minute, and he's gonna have a decision to make. You know, does he turn out or does he turn in? Now, obviously, turning in is probably not the best idea, because I have torpedoes, and I have a lot of torpedoes. The Scharnhorst also has torpedoes, and it's a brawling battleship. And look at that dodge there. How awesome was that? Very proud of that. And yet, this guy decides to turn in. Why? What is the purpose of that? Because he doesn't have torpedoes, and a better play would have been to turn out. He's probably going to lose this engagement no matter what, but he's absolutely certain to lose it by moving in like this. But see how he's aiming straight at me, and you know, that's something you can do as a cruiser. Just use the fact that people want to sink you no matter what, and then when they absolutely fail with the only you know, chance they get, then you line up the torps and make a classic Atago attack. And this is what I mean. You can do this at tier 6, and it's awesome. I love it. Buy the ship. I cannot recommend it enough. It's fun, it's relatively cheap, and it's available. So go get it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. See you out there.